Good evening, ladies. This is just a brief review of how to cut a circle skirt. You start out with 60-inch wide fabric if you're sewing for an adult. If you're sewing for a child, you could probably get away with 45 inches, but remember, we want to try to stay away from 45-inch fabric if we can, we can avoid it. So I've already folded the fabric in half. You just close up your fabric, make sure it's nice and smooth on the fold, and it's not, pushed up like that. Make sure it's nice and smooth and even. And then you take your fabric, so it's already folded in half one time, right? Yeah, that's your 60 inches folded in half. Now you're gonna bring it and fold it again. Here, hold it now. You're gonna fold it the second way. So it'll be folded horizontally and vertically to make a square. Let's make it a little bit long. Okay, so now you have a square. Don't worry about this part. We're just gonna pretend like this part is not even there. So we're just working with this square. And you usually want your square to be the same length as it is width. Sometimes it'll be a little bit wider than it will be long, but that's okay because you're gonna trim all of that part off anyway. So now you have your folded one time the long way and one time the wide way. This side over here happens to be our folded edge. That's the edge that's folded on both sides. This side is the open side. It's open there. Well, I don't know if you can see that, but that's the open edge. And this is the folded edge. This is the edge that you cut your circle on. Now we're going to switch fabrics because I've already put markings on where we're going to cut it. So I just wanted to show this green fabric just to show you how to lay the fabric out. So now let's take a look at this yellow fabric. You have to just do trial and error. I know for me, I cut a 3.5-inch circle out for my waist opening. And remember, that's going to be this edge over here that I just showed you on the green fabric. The closed folded edge is the edge you're going to cut. So right here, I did a 1.5-inch circle. And I'm just going to cut it just so we can see how wide it is. Hold it right there. Okay. And remember, we're going to cut in on a 90-degree angle. Cut in at a 90-degree angle. And then cut into your circle. And by the time you get to the other side of the circle, that's so little, so it's kind of hard to cut it. You see, I'm off a little bit. But by the time you get to the other marking, try to come in at a 90-degree angle also. That's going to make your circle more like a circle and less like an oval. So that was 1.5 inch. Let's see how wide that is. That might fit a baby doll. Hold it up. This is how big the opening is. Now if we take our measuring tape, let's hold a measuring tape on one end and just pull it as far as we can. That's about a 22-inch waist. So my 8-year-old, my 9-year-old probably could wear that. How old are you? My 8-year-old could probably fit that around her waist. It might be a little snug. So that was 1.5. So for her, I probably would cut a 2-inch or maybe a 1 3/4 inch hole for her circle. Okay, let's see what the 2.5 looks like. Cut in at a 90-degree angle and just follow your markings. Come in at 90 degrees. It won't be perfect, but just try to come in at 90 degrees if you can. That's a 2.5-inch opening. Let's see how wide that is. That's a little wider. That's about 15 when you stretch it hard, so that's about a 30-inch waist. Now let's see. And your type of fabric that you use, it makes a difference too with your hole. Because like with Jeanette's fabric that she made her skater dress with, it was not as stretchy as Tamara's fabric. So Tamara's hole might not have to be, if she was using that 2.5, she might not have to do the whole 2.5, but Jeanette would because her fabric was a little tighter. Tamara's was more stretchy. So when you stretch that hole out, once you cut it, it's going to have more give in it than the tighter fabric. This fabric that I have here is actually a bathing suit knit, so it's kind of a tight stretch. It's not a real loose, stretchy stretch like my skirt that I'm wearing. See, this stretch is like a rubber band. It can stretch really far. Okay, now let's see what the 3.5 inch looks like. This is getting more into actual adult sizes. So let's cut that out. And come in at a 90-degree angle if you can. Now let's take the measuring tape. Open it back up. So that stretches out to like 20 inches, which will double at 40 inches because this is half and half, the front side and the back side. And when you sew it, you don't have to stretch it out that far. I just want you all to see how far it can stretch. It's going down to about 20, but you may only want to stretch it to like 18. Okay, and now we have one more. That was for 40, up to a 40 inch. Let's make sure our fabric is laid back out evenly. Okay. So the 4.5 come in at a 90 degree. Okay. Hold it up. Okay. Now let's see. This, I've cut a 4.5 inch hole, and I can bring this out to about 24 to 25 inches, which will be a 50-inch waist. And as you can figure, if you just go on and on, you know, the width of your waist is going to get, it'll be a wider cut waist. Now let's just cut off the bottom. So we got us a 50-inch waist here. And this is just the bottom. I originally measured this, I think, at 9 or 10 inches. But that was before I cut all the way down 4.5. So say if you were cutting yours on 3 inches and it might have ended right there. You want to measure from that point down. And that's how you get the length of your skirt. So from wherever you stop your opening, can you hold it right? Down to the length of your skirt. So because this is just a sample, of course this is not going to be a real skirt. But we come in at a 90-degree angle and just follow our markings. And come in at a 90-degree angle, if possible. So now when you open it up, and the straighter you make it, the more it's going to resemble a circle. And when you hem it, it's going to be much easier if you have a straight edge and if you came in at 90 degrees. Let me show you what happens when you don't come in at 90 degrees. Let's see. Let's fold this back in half. Okay. Okay, say you hold it right there. Say when you cut, which side am I coming in from? Okay, just say you're cutting here, right? And you kind of come in at a slant like this. And not 90 degrees. That's clearly not a 90-degree angle. This is a 90-degree angle. This is not a 90-degree angle. Let's see what it looks like when we open it up. Can you see that? I need you to look, Caitlin, so you can see where it's... That's what happens. There's a little dip in there. And it's not straight. Imagine trying to hem that. You need a lot of pins to get that hem. It's kind of curling up a little bit, but you can see that dip. So that's why you want to do a 90-degree angle and cut your circle out as straight as you possibly can. So this is our little donut looking skirt here. And remember, the tighter your knit or your fabric is, the wider you need to cut your hole. So if you have really stretchy fabric and you cut your waist out on a 3-inch, then for a really tight knit, you might want to go with a 3.5 to 4-inch hole. But I would suggest starting with the smaller number, because it's always better with circle skirts if you cut it too small, because you can always go back and trim away if needed. And I think that's it. And just remember, you're cutting the folded edge of the fabric, not the open edge of the fabric. Because if you cut it on the open edge, you're going to end up with a seam in your skirt, because you're going to have to sew those two pieces together once it's cut. Actually, you're going to end up with 2 seams. And that's fine if you want seams. But if you don't want seams, you want to cut it on the folded edge. And I hope that that answers all of your questions. If not, feel free to contact me on any of my social media or email. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. You know where to find me. Thank you for watching this brief JaDevan video. Have a good night.